Welcome to the Time to Thrive podcast, developed and sponsored by the Thrive Ladies Ministry of Central Baptist Church in Kannapolis, North Carolina. Come with us as we dive deep into the life stories and experiences of Christian women. Meet amazing women writers from our very own Central Baptist Church magazine, Come and See. Join us as Aleah and Anna discover how God has moved in the lives of these women and how circumstances permanently changed their lives. Whether you're driving, working, or relaxing, we're glad you joined us today. And now, it's time to thrive.
Hello, Thrive Ladies. It's Aleah and Anna ready to help you start your week off right with the Time to Thrive podcast.
So hello, everybody listening. So today we have a very special guest speaker. Everybody who comes on here is special, but we have Miss Melanie Elliott right here with us. So before we jump into the article, would you briefly just introduce yourself for everybody listening?
Sure. I am Melanie Elliott. I've been a member here at Central Baptist Church for about 12 years. Mm-hmm. I live in Concord, North Carolina. I am married with 2 children. I'm so happy to be here today.
Perfect. Alrighty, now that you briefly introduce yourself, let's jump right into the article. So back in 2017 in the Come and See magazine, you wrote an article titled, For Such a Time as This. And in that article you wrote, lately the Lord has been asking me, are you ready, willing, available? Will you put yourself at risk for such a time as this? I felt the Lord calling me into a rather uncomfortable area, one that bid me to demolish some wall of protection and reach out to others who were going through what I did so long ago.
So now that we have a little preview of your article, we're going to ask you some questions, and I'm very excited to get into it. So the first question we have for you is, why do you think God laid this message on your heart to share?
Back in 2017, when I wrote the article, I experienced an unmistakable, undeniable urge to write this article. At the time, Pastor Curtis Parker was preaching, and he kept on with these messages. Are you ready? Are you willing? Are you going to be available to do what the Lord is calling you to do? Mm-hmm. It was this unmistakable. I couldn't resist it. Mm-hmm. I knew it was my time. At the same time, my employer were running ad campaigns in support of domestic violence prevention. Mm-hmm. So it was like surround sound coming from the pastor, coming from the Lord, coming from work, and I knew that it was just this undeniable urge. I couldn't resist it. I literally had to do it. I was busting inside.
So our second question that we have for you is, what are some of your life experiences that led you to your calling in that special area of ministry?
Prior to 1998, this is going back a really long time. Were you ladies born in 98?
I
Were you around?
No.
Okay. So prior to 1998, I was married to a man who both physically and emotionally abused me. I want to call out that abuse is not always physical. Mm-hmm. It can be just emotional. Mm-hmm. But remember, if it's physical, it's definitely emotional too. Mm-hmm. So I was being abused by him. And he was even in the church. We were active in the church, and this abuse was going on. I kept it a secret. I didn't want anybody to know. It was embarrassing. It was just a really hard time. My son, of course, was also being abused. And I grew up in not a solidly Christian home, but one where this just didn't happen. Not emotional abuse, not physical abuse. So it was really new to me. I knew if I was experiencing this and keeping a secret that it had to be happening to somebody else.
Yeah.
So I wanted to share my story. And again, there was that undeniable urge to share the story.
Alrighty, so question number 3 that we have is, how did you get to the place where you were ready to step out into the discomfort such as a time as now?
I'm going to say it again. It was a drawing. I can't even begin to explain it. If you've never experienced it, it was just unmistakable. I knew that I had to. Also, we had a lady at that time that was in the Thrive Leadership Group, and she described a situation, and she said, if the Lord's calling you to do it scared. I was scared. And she would say, she told the whole group, do it scared. And so that too was running through my mind. I need to do it, and I need to do it scared, because this is the time that I need to do it.
And when we were actually talking to Michelle in one of the podcasts, she was talking about how she was saying, okay, God, you're calling me to write, or you're calling me to speak. And she says, I am not equipped at all. And she was scared also. And she said, still getting up in front of people, we'll put a little, y'all go listen to that if y'all haven't, Michelle's episode. But she said she didn't feel qualified, but yet God had called her into a bigger purpose for her life. And it was difficult, like the things she had gone through. And that's encouraging. The things that you have gone through, being able to have that calling on your heart and that conviction still going for it. That's awesome.
And I felt like, too, that if I didn't, then my abuser was the victor, right? If I didn't use that situation for good, then he was the victor. And I didn't use that situation for the betterment of ladies and even in men, too.
I wanted to ask you, what beauty came from your ashes? Because you used that verse in your article, and I loved it. So I just wanted to ask you, what beauty?
Well, sharing my experience in the article was not the only way that I was able to share my experience. I have spoken at 2 Awaken meetings. So shout out to those Awaken meetings. I've spoken twice there. I've spoken in front of the whole church. One day, Pastor Dean gave me a few minutes. I spoke there as well. This is the really good part, though, at work. Remember, I told you they were doing those campaigns for domestic violence prevention. So I had written this article. I shared this article with them and told them I had a story. And I gave them a little bit more information than what's in here, a little bit more graphic. This doesn't provide a lot of details. Next thing I knew, I was on a plane to Chicago.
Wow.
They videoed me telling my story. No less than 50,000 people at my employer saw the video, or at least had access to it. It was later shared on YouTube. So that meant anybody, anywhere could look at that video. So I was able to share my story there. It was all professionally done, and like the videographer was some professional guy, and it was professional makeup artist. And so it was fun, but it was just a wonderful experience to be able to do that and do it with my employer. I mean, think about that, being able to reach that many people once I stepped out. Could I have imagined myself doing that 10 years prior? Oh, no. No. It was God. He gave me the courage to do it.
And you talk about rest in your article also, how like through all of this, you were able to find rest. And for some reason, that has been the topic lately for me, is talking about rest and talking about being refreshed. And it's awesome how even though all these things are going on in our world or going on in our lives, yet we're still able to have peace and able to have that rest and share it with other people. And that just shows, we actually just talked on this in another episode, how are they able to go on with life without that peace of God and peace of mind and that joy. So that's an encouragement, just being able to like live in his rest, live in that peace that he has for us. So no, and it is beautiful. It is a beautiful thing how God can use something so heartbreaking, but yet he's able to turn into something absolutely beautiful and touch other people also.
And he's still using it. I have found myself connecting with women who have experienced domestic violence as well, where I never would have before, and even recently was able to, refer this person to a shelter where she could find help.
Oh, wow.
You talked about Esther in your article, and your past, like in Esther, Esther came from a mother and father who died, so she was an orphan, and she was adopted, and she had this past of a Jew, but she still was able to to do what she needed to do for such a time as now. And I think like even with your past and what your past looks like, that doesn't mean that you're not capable of what God needs you to do in your life.
That's right.
Like he's gonna put you in the spot that you need to be.
Yeah.
Like where you work, like God put you in that spot. Like your employer, he put you in that spot and in that job for you to be able to share your story with that video. I think that's just so amazing.
Even at work, I found people coming up to me, calling me, emailing me, commenting on the video and how it helped them. And they began to share their experiences.
And seeing other people be encouraged or being courageous and step out, that's encouragement for other people being like, okay, if they can do it, I'm going to speak out. I'm going to do it also. So, no, it is very encouraging. Alrighty, so the last and probably the hardest question, always. So, if you had to sum up what we have talked about into one sentence to encourage everybody listening, what would that sentence be? Or it can be a couple. It doesn't have to be one.
It'll be two, but not very long. The first one is, if you are experiencing domestic violence, get help. Talk to a trusted friend, a pastor, call a hotline, but seek that help. And the other is, if you have a story and you feel like this is your kingdom moment, I like to call it that, it's a kingdom moment. Maybe you've been challenged by the Lord to share your story. Do it, step out, and like I said earlier, do it scared. It's scary, but once you do it, it's just such a blessing. Honestly, such a blessing.
So I just want to thank you, Melanie, so much for coming and speaking with us. It was such an encouragement hearing you and your story, and I loved it. So thank you so much for taking your time and coming to speak with us.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed it so much.
And also, everybody listening, thank you so much for hopping on here and listening to us. But I say this every time, just being able to hear the women and hear the stories of women in our church, it's very encouraging. It really is. So, and it's, I don't know, being able to see that women got through different things. It's emotional, but I'm not going to cry. But it's just it's very encouraging to see that God works through hard situations and that whatever we go through, we'll be able to figure it out too. So it is. So I appreciate it a lot. And
Merry Christmas, everyone. It's finally December. Actually, it came fast, guys.
Yeah. We are not filming this in Christmas time, so it feels a little weird with it being like 90 degrees outside and saying Merry Christmas, but hope y'all all are able to be with family and everything and
enjoy it.
Yes.
Remember the reason for the season, right? So that quote says.
Yes, it is. Oh, I already get tingles. I get the Christmas feels. But yeah, so thank you everybody for listening, and we cannot wait for y'all to listen to the next episode. So everyone have a good Christmas, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Time to Thrive podcast. We hope you are encouraged and inspired to thrive in your daily walk with God. To find out more about the Thrive Ladies Ministry, check out our Instagram and Facebook pages or visit our website.